Hi, welcome to the channel. So today I am reviewing a new model that I've just picked up, well, new to me anyway. Very interesting history. This is the Airfix Caerphilly Castle locomotive. This locomotive dates back to a release of 1979. And I was a youngster back in those days. 1980 was when I managed to pick one up, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was the only tender driven locomotive I had in my collection, and I think, going by memory, I think it was the only steam engine I owned. Most of the locomotives I had were all diesels. So yeah, it's got a special place in my heart. Unfortunately, my model collection is not with me these days, unfortunately, long story. But I managed to pick this one up at a very sort of keen price. I think it was about £25, around that sort of price. And yeah, so this is the first test of the locomotive to see if it runs okay. Certainly the condition of the locomotive is very, very good. All the buffers, coupling hooks, it's a very, very clean, I would almost go to say mint example. There's a couple of specks of dust, but that's about it. So I don't know the running conditions of this, if it will run at all. I hope it does. The seller did say that it was a runner, but and it's certainly a very clean example. I think this has been a bit of a shelf queen, sitting on a shelf for display purposes, more than being run on a layout. In fact, I would go as far to say it's not really a shelf queen, it was a box queen. I think it was in a box, possibly on display. Typically what people would refer to as shelf queens tend to collect a bit of dust. This one has a few specks, and that tells me it's been mostly sat in a box. So if we use 1980 as a benchmark, that would make this 44 years old at the time of making this video. So let's put some power on it and see if she runs. I've got it on full power, so let's ramp it up. Okay, a little bit hesitant. Probably the wheels need a bit of a clean. I'll tell you what, it's very quiet. And again, with the locomotive being so quiet, that tells me it hasn't really been run very much at all. Wow, for 25 quid. Really pleased to get this model back in my collection after all those years. Kind of gives my age away a little bit, doesn't it? Well, I'll tell you what, that's a fantastic runner. It needs a little bit of a light service. I'll just slow it down as we get to the station. Wow, that's incredible. So I'm going to give it a bit of a light oil, and I'll bring you back and I'll tell you a bit more about the history of this locomotive and the tooling for it, etc. Okay, I thought I would just do a short clip of the condition of the locomotive on the sort of drivetrain, wheels, etc. of this locomotive. It's incredible that if you look at the possibility of dirt on the wheels, which is hardly anything at all. I don't know if the camera can pick that up. The traction tires, they honestly look like new. The only dirt I can see is on the offside front main wheel. And I think, is that a little bit of corrosion on the bogie axle? Let me have a closer look. No, it's not actually. It's a bit of copper, I think, connected to the axle. Well, I'll tell you what, this is what you would possibly refer to as new old stock. This is a new locomotive. I cannot believe my luck on getting this. Now, Airfix models are not for everyone. Some people stray away from them because of their age or the fact that it's tender driven. But I'll give you a bit more details on that once we get it back onto the layout. But I thought I really needed to show you a clip of the condition of this, because it's really remarkable. For a locomotive this old to have been kept in pristine condition, unused, probably kept in a box. I think it's probably seen a layout. You can see the odd mark on the wheels, on the main wheels, but I mean it's really nothing. I mean maybe 2 or 3 times run a track, who knows. Wow, I am so lucky to be able to get a locomotive in this condition. Okay, now you're probably going to ask, or you're wondering, did it come with a box? No, it wasn't boxed, but quite honestly, from my Airfix locomotives, I'm not looking for them to be in a box. It's different with likes of, say, Wren locomotives. I prefer them to have a box with it, but I think it's only Wren. The rest of them, like new locomotives, if it's Hornby, for example, I do keep them, the boxes, but I store them. I don't keep my once I take my locomotive out, the box is stored. But yeah, so I'm going to get cracking. I'm just going to, as I say, it's a light service for this, and yeah, I'm really excited to get it back onto the layout. I mean, it runs really good already, but let's see if we can get it running like the first day it was manufactured. So back soon. Okay, so it's had its light service, and yeah, the locomotive on the inspection underneath, very, very clean. Again, adding to what I thought earlier, that this has been kept in its box for 40 odd years. And So what's, just to give you an update, what I've done, I've oiled the gears and the axles and the con rods, and then I gave all the wheels at the front of the locomotive, I gave them a clean with IPA, and yeah, she's running very well. Also, my observation is that I don't think this locomotive was ever run in, because you can see little inconsistencies. Now, I haven't been into the motor in the tender yet. I know it's a Ringfield motor and it's a pretty simple affair, but I've run out of time this evening to delve in there. But just basic observations, I don't think it was ever run in, but that's not a problem. You know, it's I think, I mean, I'm just giving it a few laps of the track right now and letting the oil work its way into the different places it needs to be. But for running it in, I'll need to clean the commutator and oil the bearings on the motor, and then I can run it in. So let's see if the Caerphilly Castle can perform a slow crawl. So I've got it on half power, and wow, look at that. That's incredible. We're trying to just zoom in now. This is a locomotive that costs £25, folks. That's amazing. Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about the history of this locomotive, manufactured by Airfix GMR, which stood for Great Model Railways. Now, Airfix released this in 1979, and then they sold up, I think it was around about 1982, sold their assets to Mainline and Dapol. And as I said earlier, I bought my variant in 1980, and this is a replacement which I just received yesterday. Now, Airfix has had a long history in making all kinds of models, model soldiers, model planes, but the first model train they released was back in 1959, and it was a Class 21 L&Y Pug, which was unpowered. So from 1959 onwards, Airfix has had a kind of a relationship in manufacturing locomotives and carriages, etc. Now, I looked at the tooling and I was really shocked by the information I found there or discovered there, because I didn't realise that this model being the Caerphilly class, I knew there was a sister model called the Pendennis Castle, but the tooling is incredible for this model, considering it was tooled up in sort of 78, 79, or they started, or they released them, I guess, during 79. But the actual engineering drawings, etc., they're probably dated back at least a year earlier to 78. Now, this model has been used a total of, in different variations, 40 times. Twice by Airfix, at least 4 times by Daypol that I can find out, and Hornby, oh my goodness, 34 times they used the tooling for this model to manufacture other variations. And out of that 34, 6 of them were Harry Potter Hogwarts red locomotive, Hogwarts Express, and there were 6 variants of that based on movie releases and things of that ilk. And then Hornby didn't stop there. So Hornby continued in 2005. They gave it a bit of a spring clean and released it again for a total of another 12 variants in 2005, or starting in 2005. So Hornby released this a total of 46 times in different models. And I find that incredible, I really do. I don't know how many Airfix produced of the Caerphilly and the Pendennis Castle in the 2 years they were manufacturing them. I don't know. I could only hazard a guess then of what that was. But you know, you get a lot of people saying, oh, you know, Airfix models are really dated and this, that and the other. Well, I don't see that. I really don't see that. I think the quality, I remember back in 1980 when this Airfix model came out, it took the model train hobby, it took it by storm because it was so much better than anything else that was available by Hornby or Lima at that time. And for me anyway, as a young lad, Bachmann didn't figure very much in the UK at that time. So it was only really Hornby and Lima, and Wren were also there. And when Airfix came out with this, they raised the bar right across the model train industry. It was so good. And if I compare this now and stack it up against today's models, there's not a lot of difference, not that I can see. Whether it's the paint finish or the detail of the bolts or whatever, I just think this is fantastic. And you know, for spending £25 on this, I mean, I'm very lucky. I realise that I've managed to get myself a mint version of this, which might not be so easy, but yeah, I mean, I watched a fellow YouTuber review a Hornby locomotive, brand new one, that cost over £200, say £250, and he loved the detail, etc. Brand new model by Hornby, and the motor on it was so poor that he was, more or less, he was gutted or devastated that the model did not perform to what he expected, especially for a model that cost £250. This one is 10% of that, £25. And on top of that, it's we're looking at 44 years old locomotive, which, you know, if I put it right next to that Hornby locomotive, it's going to look, it's not going to look out of place, it's not going to look dated, and arguably the motor possibly performs way better than the Hornby one that cost £250. So there you go. But certainly in my research, I'm really shocked that Hornby continued to use the tooling to make 46 variants right into the 2000s. So you can say what you like about the Airfix locomotives. you know, if you don't like them, I think it's worth having another look, because Hornby obviously thought that it was credible to use for 46 different locomotives, and it all started was with the Caerphilly and the Pendennis Castle Great Western locomotives. Anyway, that's my review of the Caerphilly Castle locomotive. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative, and so thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.